Welcome back, everybody. I'm speaking with another Alan. It's always a pleasure to speak to another Alan, Alan Emrys, who is from the other side of the pond, somebody who you can find on Netflix right now on young Wallander playing Gustav. So check him out there and a few other films. If you're a fan of horror, you can find him in Host. All the things that people really care about, especially in this terrifying time that we live in. Why not scare the busy Jesus out of ourselves even further? Welcome to the program, Alan.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here, man.
It's my pleasure, and thanks to Pop Alternative for making the connection. We appreciate it, always do. Thanks, Pete, you my buddy. In terms of acting, right? I listened, doing my prep on you. I listened to some of the interviews that you have done, and I kind of did some research. And I haven't watched Wallander yet. It's on my actually list to view. I'm getting close. I'm finishing up a series now.
That's cool, man. That's so good.
Yeah, it's in my genre. It's in the genre.
We all have huge amounts of lists of things to watch. I think,
yes.
Especially with all our streaming services available right now, there's an abundance of stuff available.
It's tough, and yet I still find myself rewatching some of my favorite shows just because I find that I have a little bit of time. Maybe I had a little bit of time, not anymore, since I'm doing an interview a day, and it takes about 3 hours of prep per person. So I usually
What's your favorite shows, man?
The West Wing is my top drama on TV, and I didn't watch it when it was out, and then I kind of started watching it a number of years ago, and then I've rewatched it since a number of times. So West Wing, Billions in terms of drama, that's my number 2. I love Suits. I don't know if again, kind of Suits went because they were not in streaming. It was on USA Network. So here.
Yeah, it came over here, and then someone else came over here, and they married into things over here, and all that wonderful stuff.
So those, and then I love Psych. In terms of comedies, so Psych is my favorite. I love Chuck, and then The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Those are kind of my top 3 in terms of comedies. So what about you?
I like loads of stuff. Have you ever? I need to start watching it again. It's a really old one. I don't know if you've seen it. Shogun. So it's
Showman or Shogun?
Shogun.
Okay, I've not seen that.
It's about a guy who's traveling, trying to discover like a route to the Americas, and he's in the Dutch Navy. It's from like 1970.
Cool.
And he ends up in the Japans and shipwrecked, and him and his crew are taken as prisoners. In feudal Japan, and he ends up like discovering the way of Japanese culture and working his way through and understanding how their politics work and how their culture works and how it's being influenced by Catholicism coming in from Spanish. And there's a great line in it where there's a woman who says, "Yes, I'm Catholic, but I'm Japanese first." Which is a really interesting mindset that they had back then.
Yeah, interesting. And then again, I know. Sorry for interrupting. I was just going to say, I know you have a karate background, so I don't know if.
Yeah.
For me, I watch pretty much every martial art film I can get my hands on. So I don't know if it's the same thing with you, if it has some martial arts aspects or spirituality aspects you have to watch it.
Spirituality, yeah, I love. So for me, martial arts was always the physical element of it is almost secondary to the mental aspect of it. It's a mental discipline more than that is translated into a physical discipline. And so the style of karate that I trained was Wadokai or Waduru, depending on which school of you've come from. Which means peaceful way, and obviously karate is way of the open hand. So it's sort of this. There's a whole mantra which I'm gonna butcher by misquoting, which starts with like speak before you shout, and goes on and on and on, and ends in like maim before you kill. So it's always about doing the least amount of damage to end the situation that you possibly can, but to ultimately end the situation.
Yeah. It's that's the type of philosophy that drew me to Tai Chi, and
Ah, nice.
yeah, drew me to Aikido a little bit, and then I saw that as much as I like it, I fear that the applications of it in reality are not very good. So I kind of
Yeah,
moved
if
away from it.
jiu-jitsu's,
Yeah,
I might get a bit of a flack from every martial artist has their opinion. I mean, there's no such thing as a bad martial art, just a bad martial artist.
agreed.
But I personally, I prefer jiu-jitsu. I mean, Aikido and Judo are offshoots of jiu-jitsu anyway. They're just taking different schools of
Yeah.
thoughts from jiu-jitsu. Yeah, it's a fascinating world, martial arts.
I love it. I got started in it as a kid. Judo was my first, by the way, and then have always been in it. Never kind of made it a full-time endeavor and a full-time pursuit. And that's why I always say that there are martial artists and then there are enthusiasts. So I definitely put myself in the
Yeah.
other category.
Yeah, and you also have a similar school of thought that there are fighters and martial artists. So,
Yeah.
like a martial artist is probably 9 times out of 10 the last person to want to fight, because they're at peace with their own anger, as it were,
Yeah.
and they've found ways to channel it and use it for positive things rather than destructive things.
Agreed. That's the part that I always enjoyed. To me, it was more the art. The martial was the application of it, but it was the art and what's beneath it and how it affects me when I am doing it. You talked in one of your interviews. You talked about kind of kata being the meditative state. It's a moving meditation. Tai Chi is the same for me at this point. Yeah, very much.
Wasn't Tai Chi originally? I might be wrong. You probably know a bit more than me. Was it originally used as a way of disguising martial art as exercise?
It could have been. Again, so Tai Chi has a martial aspect to it, and you can actually apply it to fighting, but it's utilized primarily, I think, by people right now as just an exercise. And then an offshoot of that is you have the qigong, which is just the energy part of it. So everything is kind of tied in, but the internal arts versus the external arts. I grew up a Bruce Lee fan. So for me, when I put on, a karate uniform, which I have, and then I have a taekwondo uniform and a judo uniform, I like it, but I feel most me when I have my tai chi or a kung fu uniform. To me,
That's great.
energetically speaking, it's me. So I know
So
you understand that.
you're more of a yielding energy than a contending.
Yeah, I'm all about movement, and if you're a fan of show called Avatar: The Last Airbender, I don't know if you've ever
I haven't
watched that.
seen it, which is
You
I probably
should.
should, as a self-confessed nerd. I should probably watch it.
You should, because it really marries the spirituality aspects with the martial arts aspects, and they do a really interesting job of kind of breaking up the different parts of the different nations. You have the Fire Nation, so you have the more karate, if you will, aspect of it. Whereas the Air Nation, it's Tai Chi. It's not exactly Tai Chi. There is another Tai Chi-like martial art, which now escapes me the name of it, but they do really well in terms of kind of marrying everything. It's fascinating. So kind of watching that, the name is going to bother me. I'll remember it before the end of the interview.
Yeah, just halfway through another question.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to stop thinking about it. I'll just let it come naturally. But yeah, I've always been. I want to do the least to hurt the other person. I want to move out of the way. I don't want them to get hurt. I don't want me to get hurt. That's why the idea of Aikido kind of really intrigued me in that sense. But then I think more of the internal arts is my cup of tea, if you will.
Fair enough. Yeah, I used to have major anger management issues as a teen, and as a young preteen as well. So karate for me was really a way of controlling it and knowing that I have this immense energy that can be used for, like I said earlier, something positive rather than something destructive.
Yeah.
And yeah, being able to accept it, because there's this huge thing that a lot of people tell you shouldn't feel angry and you shouldn't feel this and you shouldn't feel that, which I don't think is helpful. I think everything you feel is natural. All feelings are natural. There's so I had we had this conversation with the guy who was leading the meditation class, guided meditation, and I spoke to him about how do you you're telling us to accept our feelings and accept all of our feelings, whilst also telling us to be present and peaceful and trying to find harmony in ourselves. So how do we do that whilst also accepting rage and anger and jealousy and all what we perceive to be negative or bad emotions? And he just talked about how you just need to allow, as long as you accept those things and allow them to flow through you, and realize that these things can be used for good and for positive things. It's good to be angry about I don't know how you are, how you feel politically, but say if there's something that you don't agree with that is happening in humanity, it's good to get angry about those things, because if you don't get angry about it, nothing's ever going to change. You're never going to contend against it. You're never trying to push to change these things. If you, I don't know, if someone's trying to mug you, I'm not, and if you're backed up into a corner and there's nowhere else you can go, then of course you need to be able to fight for your life. These things happen. But yeah, it's a case of allowing yourself to accept these feelings, and I find that is a great thing through martial arts that a lot of people are able to do.
Yeah. Any kind of rejection, it's you're denying parts of yourself. So it's better to
Yes. Yeah.
process that through. My meditation teachers and my spiritual teachers were saying observe them like a cloud, and the cloud goes by, and along with that you can release it. So as long as you're not kind of having it inside of you and letting it fester, as long as you process through it, understand what's happening. For me, as an empath, there was a extra part to it of realizing that some of those, feelings or emotions may not be your own, may be something that you just picked up because you're around other people, and being able to release that as opposed to try to figure out why the heck am I having these thoughts. So, move that through, and that's again my philosophy, I think, in life is heavily influenced by martial arts, from the perspective that it's all about flow. The talks flow, all the martial arts talk flow. So it's that same flow of emotions, it's that flow of energy, and being yourself while removing other things that do not suit you.
Yeah, and these kind of lessons are always transferable. Like when I was at drama school, because I went to the drama center, we our main ethos was a thing called character analysis, which was based on Jung philosophy mixed with Laban dance technique. So the understanding of flow and energy productions. Yeah. So if it's free or bound, is it time stressed? Is it space? What kind of space does it flow through? And again, these martial arts, meditation, acting, cooking, everything. Again, as you say about enjoying the kung fu element of martial arts, and that side of martial arts, there's a great thing that happens in I don't know if you've ever seen like a really old kung fu movie.
Sure.
And they say stuff like, I want to test his kung fu. And people have always assumed that means I want to test out his kung fu, his martial art, his thing, but his that specific skill. But it's kind of that, because kung fu literally, I might be slightly wrong, but just translates to skill. So you could have amazing kung fu in cooking. You could have great kung fu in writing. It's a skill. So I don't know where I've lost my train of thought because I've got on a tangent there. But yeah, it's all these things in life are transferable, especially martial arts. And that's what I love about, like what we were saying about the art side of it, rather than the break someone's arm side of it.
Yeah. It's knowing how much it hurts when you get hit, really reinforces the point that I don't want to do that to somebody else, because they will feel bad, and then I will feel bad for causing them that pain, because I know what that feels like. It's kind of that point of last resort. I have a almost 11-year-old son who has some anger issues, as a lot of kids nowadays do. And I had him in martial arts. He was taking Taekwondo for a couple of years. I didn't get that aspect out yet. So as he's growing up, he's going to go right back into martial arts, because I want him to learn that self-discipline. And hey, you never want to get into a fight unless it's a type of thing, because you know that you're gonna talk badly to somebody, you're gonna get hit in the face and worse, and it's gonna hurt. You need to know what a part of it feels like, so not to do that again.
Yeah. Everyone needs a slap now and again. That's the thought process.
In a way, because a lot of them kind of and especially with this generation where everything is on the phone, right? And we can write whatever comments to anybody across the world, but you're going to see some of these people face to face, and then what? Is that the kind of person you want to be? Number one, and number two, what's going to happen when somebody actually calls you out on it, and you have no way to defend yourself? So he needs to, as a man, he needs to learn how to defend himself. But as a person, he needs to know what it actually means and what the point behind all of it.
Yeah, and it's interesting what you say there about, as a man, you need to learn to defend yourself. That's a societal thing that I wish it wasn't the case. But unfortunately, I feel in an amazing way, women have progressed leaps and leaps and bounds over the last 100 years. I mean, it's still a long way to go. But they really have, and it's wonderful to see. But men emotionally, specifically, I mean, there's a sort of resurgence of it for men right now, about understanding your emotions and accepting yourself, and this whole idea of toxic masculinity. But in the grand scheme of things, men really haven't progressed very much in the last 100 years. So it's really refreshing to see that it is now starting to become at the forefront of things, that we're saying that, look, it's okay for men to feel. Because I feel like that's where a lot of violence from men come from. And again, that's why a lot of martial artists don't have it. Are taught in a way to accept to be able to accept and manage themselves, which is a struggle for a lot of men, because of societal pressure of what this whole thing, what being a man, or be a man, like what the fuck is that? Just be yourself. Mm-hmm. If you associate as then you're a man. What more do we need?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, especially what's happening now. You have a lot of aggression in the world, and then on the other side, you have a lot of awakening in the world. And I think that unfortunately and fortunately is a part of the process of evolution, is that some of this really needs to get processed out of the system while other new things come into play. And that process is a painful one, but I think hopefully, at least the way that I see it, it'll get us to a better place where we're more balanced as a people. And we'll find out.
I mean, diamonds are crafted out of extreme pressure, so let's see what happens next.
Yes, let's see. And I like how you alluded that acting has a lot of similarities to what we were just discussing, because I believe truly that it does. And I was very happy to hear that some of the acting training that you were going through in drama school was utilizing that. And because when you're on set, when you're trying to portray a character, and by portraying, you really need to embody a character, you need to understand not just yourself, but you need to understand energy. You need to understand intention. You need to be able to tap into all of that and then have a relationship with others in the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. And I guess that comes from listening, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But then also, like, I don't like to go, I like, obviously you need to be playing an action and all that kind of stuff. So it's vital. I mean, it's human beings at times might not be doing anything, might just be existing, but as a character they're always doing something, otherwise what's the point in watching it?
Right.
But I feel there's a great lesson that I learned when I was at drama school from a guy called John Beschitzer, who is a phenomenal teacher. And he said, one of the first things he taught us was plan it, know it, forget it, do it. So there's this whole thing of yes, you should be rigorous in your planning, in your all that sort of stuff. But then when you get there and when things are happening, at least stick to it. That you should trust that everything that you've done, if it's worthwhile, will be there when you do it. And if it's not worthwhile, then it's not going to be there and it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah. And again, applicable to everything in life, right? So, in life, you learn a topic, you learn certain movements, and then when you get into an altercation, you're going to flow with it, and depending on what happens. And that's why my personal opinion, and I kind of discovered that in the process of doing these interviews, is I think that as a part of the curriculum of drama schools, we should have boxing lessons, because in a ring, you're really focusing on the other person, and everything that they do affects you. It's a perfect parallel to what's happening in a scene. And if we learn how to do that, then we can flow much better within the scene. So I agree with what your teacher was saying, because you have to throw it out. You have to not pre-plan things, and knowing that you already have done the work, it'll come when it's needed.
Yeah, of course. Again, I would personally, just coming from an acting background and having done stuff. Well, I am an actor, so of course I come from an acting background. But having come from a martial artist background, I would introduce more something like capoeira into acting training over boxing, because as an actor you kind of need to be in tune. I'm not saying that boxers aren't in tune with their whole body, but the freedom of that movement for capoeira. Person, and also it's about filling the space, which is a really interesting concept, and it's a bit more, flowy, upbeaty, and it has an element of joy to it, which I think all acting should have. It doesn't matter what you're doing; it should always be joyous for the actor, even if you're. It's difficult to articulate, because obviously if you're in a painful scene and it's a painful moment for you, it's still going to be painful, but this is strange sort of, it's painful but still joyous. I don't know how to articulate that. It's something that only other actors would probably understand, or people who have done it before.
Yeah. I want to follow up on that. Very interesting thought about capoeira. The only thing that kind of comes to my mind, and I like all of the aspects of it, is that in capoeira it's always accompanied by music. And
yes.
If we get to that point, is it going to be something that we're so associating with that in a scene we will feel like we need some music? I don't know.
Oh, no, I don't think so. I think it would teach you to allow yourself to be affected by the external circumstances.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Because obviously, if you're boxing, this is another thing. Boxing is about dominating the other person, whereas acting isn't. Even if your character is, there is an element of you that is having to be like, okay, well, what am I giving them, and what are they giving me, and how are we working together to make this thing. So I feel like capoeira training has that. It's sort of like, okay, well, he's going there, so I'm going to go here, and we'll always be filling this space and dancing with each other, which is what beautiful acting is, in my opinion. It's
Okay.
Sorry, I go off on tangents and
No, me too.
yeah.
Because you're right. Boxing is more dominating, although again there is offense and defense. But my attention immediately went to Wing Chun and the practice of hands.
Sticky hands.
Yeah, that would be also interesting because that it's all about and kind of flowing, giving, and anyway, moving on. So back to the acting part of it. You mentioned something that actually I haven't heard too many people talk about, which even in a painful moment, there is a moment of joy. How did you discover that for yourself?
It was when I was about 17, 18, something like that, and I was doing a one-act play with my mum that my mum had written, and there's a vanity in this because I was nailing the scene. I knew I was nailing the scene, but it was a moment of my character was a drug addict, alcoholic who'd just taken an overdose in an alleyway. And through the play, he's discovered that he's talking to his mother in the alleyway, and has been searching for her for a very long time. And it's just unfortunate that it's at the moment that he's taken this overdose, and he's dying. And there's this moment of him talking with her and asking these questions and having almost like having closure, but it's incredibly painful. And I knew that I had the audience. I knew that they were part of it, and that we were together in this, and that they were enthralled by this story. So as much as it was incredibly painful for me to go through this, there was also a moment of, it's not just me that's going through this. We're all sharing this. And there was another thing from I can't remember the actor. It may have been Anthony Hopkins, which is blasphemous to say. Might have been him, who said that if you're not enjoying yourself, then the audience will know. So it's one of those things where if you're watching an actor and you can tell that they're bored of this script, it doesn't matter how much effort they're putting into selling the story. If you can tell that they're bored of it, you'll be bored of it as well, because it's not. It's like a chef, I guess, who is making an incredibly complicated and delicate recipe. Yes, he's probably stressed that if I do one thing wrong, or if I get this temperature just wrong, it's going to fuck the whole thing up. But he's still enjoying what he's doing, or she's enjoying what they're doing. The person who is making the meal is still enjoying that process. Yeah.
That's very interesting. I'm going to look up and see who said that. It certainly sounds like Anthony, because everything that I've seen him do, my head is now in. By the way, the martial art was Bagua.
Bagua. See, I told you it happened halfway through a question.
Every role that kind of in my head that I'm thinking of Anthony Hopkins, you can see enjoyment in everything that he's doing, regardless of how dramatic that role is, which many of his have been. Yeah, I certainly could be, but I'm going to look that up. That's very good, and a great thing that many, as they're watching, they're going to see and talk about adding layers naturally, not just I have to be angry and then I have to enjoy it and then I have to all of that pre-planning and mind over performance stuff should not be involved. But if you can find the joy in that drama, I think that'll add so much to the character. Delicious.
Yeah, and again, I'm hesitant to say it because it's not my place to say, but if you're not enjoying it, then don't do it. Acting is tough enough as it is.
Yes.
I mean, like this week alone, I've been doing I had a chemistry read and a meeting with a director and an acting workshop. And I mean, the acting workshop alone, I got given the script. It was 6 pages long, and the only time I had to learn it was 2 hours last night, which was immensely stressful.
Mm-hmm.
But if I didn't love it, I wouldn't do it. So if you're not enjoying it, then find something else that you find joy in and do that. Just do whatever makes you happy. And I think that's the best actors in the world. When you see them, that you can tell that they love what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you watch it. It's just like it has a similarity to watching a child play. There's another lesson I got that I really stuck with me growing up, was to be childlike and not childish. This fascination with your surroundings and whatever's near you, and everything should just be incredible. Like someone gives you a piece of cake, and you shouldn't just be like, oh, this is nice. It's like, gee, this is the best cake I've ever had in my life. Where did you get it? What is this? Who did this? What things that there's enough in the world that makes you feel like shit. So do your best to, whenever you can, do what makes you happy.
Perfect.
Mic drop of pithy quotes.
Yeah. No, I love that. That is perfect. Yeah. I want to ask you a little bit about some of the projects that you've been working on, just because from an acting perspective, it's interesting. You know, on your IMDb, pro, it talks about, Johnny English. You had a tiny, part in it. I know it was supposed to be bigger, and then kind of the role got cut. So from a pure acting and an acting profession and a career learning experience perspective, that's where I want to come at this from. Of, this was your first kind of gig out of drama school. It seems like a huge opportunity to be a part of the movie with incredible people who you grew up watching, who I grew up watching, and then you do a good job, and then after the first day, they say, hey, we've written the role out. What was the process like of getting over that and learning and moving on?
It was hard at first because it was the first job. So it was a bit of a kick in the guts to be told that. But then my agent, who is phenomenal, Jonathan at Identity, was on the phone with me, and he explained, look, they wanted you to know that this was nothing to do with your performance. It was purely a physical mismatch of, well, physicality didn't work, was the words they used. So yeah, it kind of taught me that these things aren't personal. It's a business, and it's a cutthroat business. It really is. And there's a great lesson from Bryan Cranston, who says it's not your job to get the job; it's just your job to give them an option. And I did that. I did my job, and they paid me for my job. And then I feel that a lot of young actors, myself included, get so caught up at moments and times in their life where acting is their everything, and it becomes it's tedious. It's tedious for your emotional well-being. It's tedious for your soul. It really is. There is more to your life than acting. I can't remember the author who said it, but there's he talked about never describe yourself as a verb. Is it as a verb? I'm also dyslexic, so I might have got that wrong. But yeah, I'm not an actor. I'm not Alan the actor. I'm Alan and I act. Because otherwise, like that moment, it did really hit me in a really bad way when it happened. Because I was like, well, if I'm not acting, then what am I, or who am I? And you have a bit of a moment of identity crisis. Like, well, if I'm not acting, and if I'm not doing an acting job, and I'm an actor, then I must be a failure. And that's not healthy. So it's better to you can do, if you there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of actors in the world, and probably about 1,000 of them make it. So if your obsession is becoming about always working as an actor, then you should really stop and not stop acting. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying stop. I'm saying stop and take sort of stock of your life and realize that there is a large chance that you probably will not make it in this world as an actor. So do things that will make you happy alongside it. Like, I love cooking. I absolutely adore cooking. Probably a bit too much when I was growing up because I was a bit of a fat kid. But I love it, and I love cooking for other people. And I love metal music, and I love art, and like going to the cinema and being playful with my family, and all these different things. And these things all bring me happiness in the world. So yeah, I fear a lot of this is what that really taught me, is to focus more on the fact that my entire identity in life does not revolve around me getting an acting job or me being employed as an actor, because also that's just too much pressure to put on yourself. I mean, it really is. There are so many variables and so many things that are out of your control. You know, I've done about, off the top of my head, since drama school, I've probably done about 200 auditions. Realistically, probably more. And I've only had a handful of jobs. I mean, Wallander is my biggest so far. And going alongside all those things, I mean, I'm still ambitious, and I still want, like, I'll put it into the universe, I still want an Oscar by the time I'm 40. This gives me 11 years, but I also have to, there's a strange thing of, I'm having it and I want it and it's going to happen, whilst at the same time there's another part of you that has to say it might never happen, and that's okay. To what was it? Hold on tight, let go loose. These are wonderful things. Like, I'm fully aware there is a slim chance. Brush the dust off my shoulder. There is a slim chance I might never work again. It could happen. I might something may happen to me where I'm unable to be an actor anymore. So I need to accept the world as it is whilst trying to change it.
And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the interviews, because as I started doing research, I saw that perspective, I saw that level of maturity, and for as painful lesson as it was, how great that you had it at the beginning of your career, because now it allows you to look at things from a
100%
healthier perspective. And I'm very happy that that you've made the right conclusions after it.
Yeah, it's a thing. As soon as you do an audition, just let it go, forget about it. I did, funny one. So this happens now and again. I auditioned for a project about a year ago. I can't say anything about the project because it's still all under wraps. I auditioned for the project a year ago, assumed, no, I haven't got it, fair enough. And then my agent called me out of the blue about a month ago and said, Alan, cast your mind back to this time last year. Do you remember auditioning for XYZ? And I was like, yeah, great, because they've offered you a different role in the same project. And I was like, right, from a year ago. It's like, yeah, they're still casting, they're still going. And I was like, oh, well, great, but it's just you just have to kind of let these things go. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Just do everything you can, and then let it go. Put it all out into the universe, and let it come back to you. What's meant to come will come.
Yes. Do it for the love. Do it because that's who you are. That's what you enjoy doing, and it'll happen or it won't, but it'll happen in the way that the universe intends for it to happen.
Yeah, of course.
difficult lessons to learn, but you're much better and much more well-rounded and a happier and a healthier person when you do learn those lessons.
Yes, yes, it's yeah, and I genuinely really hope if anyone listens to this and they've not gone through that, to please just take it on board that it's not always your fault.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I had to learn those lessons, and some of those lessons I'm learning still, and just had over the last few months learned additional depth of those lessons, and
Yeah,
having come out of it, I feel much better.
I mean, once you stop learning, you're dead. So
Yeah, yeah,
keep learning.
I want to continue learning as much as I can. So, talking about Wallander, the cool thing with Netflix is that you're a part of a great show. You're doing a great job. From the things that I've seen on it, and now the whole world watches you, and it's does it. And you're really well kind of grounded person already, but now you have this where it's a number one show in certain markets, and it's top 10 and many others, and you feel like, okay, I'm getting to that next part in my career. Is there a part of you that says, you still have to let this go as well and continue working? Or is there a part of you says, okay, I've arrived to a certain level, let's spring from here?
Yeah, I allowed myself a week.
Okay.
I did. I allowed myself a week of like being on top of the world and be like, I'm on Netflix, I'm on an international show, and all these different things. And I visited Sophie Holland, the casting director, and I took her a bottle of some sparkling stuff and some homemade brownies, and had a bit of a chin wag and a sit down, and like, oh my god, it's coming out tomorrow, and we caught up, which was really nice. Yeah, my ego inflated a little bit. I'll be honest, it did. And then I let that go, and then I was like, okay, well, back to the grind now. Like, I can't just rest on this, because yeah, like I said, I have ambition. I want to do bigger and better things. Yeah, so I actually today I went to my first acting class since drama school, and fell flat on my face. Completely failed. Didn't do very well, from my own personal opinion. Like, very critical of my own. Well, not critical, but very, like, I have a way that I have an expectancy of myself, and I didn't meet it, so I was disappointed in myself. And I think that was a good thing for me. It was the end of the sort of, you're only as good as your last performance, which was a good thing, because my last performance was Wallander, which I was happy with. And then this one, not so happy with. So it was a good sort of weighing it back up again and going, okay, well, now it's time to get back to work and to do some more stuff. Yeah, I don't ever want to become an actor who just rests on his last performance. When I was a kid, going back. Okay, we keep going back to martial arts, but I've learned a lot of my life lessons from martial arts. When I was a kid, I won a karate competition. I was the free fighting year 2000 club champion. And I came back to the class. So the competition was on the Saturday or Sunday, something like that. Saturday, because I remember I had a day where we could celebrate. And then I came back to the class on the Monday, and my instructor said, "Oh, great! So you, how's it been being champion then?" And I was like, "Oh, it's so cool! I'm like the best fighter in the club." And he's like, "You were on Saturday. Today's a different day. So you're not champion anymore. You were champion for that day. Well done, and huge congratulations. You did a good job. But now you've got to go back to work. You've had your moment. You've enjoyed it. Now crack on and go back to it." Yeah, and that kind of stuck with me growing up. So yeah, I don't want to let myself. I don't want to allow myself too much of an ego.
Yeah,
It doesn't serve my work.
No, I agree with you. So again, good approach, and the lesson out of all of this is martial arts is good for the development. And
Martial arts is good for life.
yes, everybody should be doing it. Few more questions before we wrap up. The different projects that you've been on, and again, there's more coming up. If you had to pick one that was instrumental in you believing that this is something that'll be so useful for your career as an actor, not from the exposure perspective, but this lesson I'm going to take with me forever. Well, what was that, and what was it about?
There's a couple.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple. There was one of the first ones was working on. I used to be part of a company called the Airbender, a repertory company back in Wales, and that was when I was from like the ages of 11 up, and it was always Shakespeare they were doing. It was taught by Mira Stanford Smith, who was an ex-Guildhall graduate, and she was the first person to sort of show me that this isn't just a fun and frolic. It is that as well, but it's also this is a career. This is an art form. This is a discipline. This is something that you can really leave your mark on the world with if you do it properly. So that was the first sort of thing that made me like see that this is not just a bit of fun. Mm-hmm. It is fun, but that's not all it is. It's so much more. There's this whole world to it. And another one, which was just from a purely sort of practical acting lesson, was when I was in drama school. I was being directed by a director called Seb Harkham. And at the end of the class, he tore me to absolute shreds over my work. So that to the point where it was painful to hear it. I was in one of the best. I thought I was in one of the best drama schools in the world. It must be all right. But he tore me apart and told me, look, if you're not doing something, then I might as well be at home doing the washing up. Why am I watching you? If you're not doing something, it's dull. His exact words: if you're not doing something, it's dull as fucking ditch water. And I was like, right, okay. And then from then on, I was like, okay, well, you have to be doing something. You can't just say the words. The words are there, and the writer has put them there for a reason, because the character is doing something. Even if you're just saying hello, it doesn't mean that you have to become like, oh, he's saying hello, what's his backstory? There's this huge, deep, meaningful, like tortured artist thing. No, but if you're saying hello, then say hello. Like, greet the person, or welcome the person, or do something, affect the other person in the room, tell the story of what that is doing. They're two of the sort of more sort of influential things. The other one for me is David Bowie, who talked about never play to the gallery, which is like never try and meet someone else's expectations of this, whatever it may be, because you won't feel you're like you've done your best, your work, your thing. You won't own your interpretation of the character if you'll feel a bit like a puppet of either a puppet of the audience or a puppet of the director, who I'm lucky enough not to have worked with directors like that yet, but they exist. There are people out there who don't want to allow your creative freedom, and you don't want to work with those people. So don't bother. Just be yourself and tell your own truth. But no, be you. There's no other you. Even as an actor, there's only one Alan Emrys. There's only one Johnny Depp. Don't try and be Johnny Depp.
Yeah, good idea always. And that may go into kind of the last question for you is, after you talked to your agent, a little while ago about what happened on Johnny English, if you from right now had a chance to travel back in time for a few minutes and give one piece of acting advice to you, getting those news, that news from your agent, what would you say?
Your agent is not going to drop you.
Good advice.
It worried me for a long time.
Yeah.
I was told that by lots of different people. Like, your age, you weren't signed to get work. You were signed because your agent saw something in you and believes in you. And I mean, there are agents out there who just want to make a quick buck because they think that they can get you cast.
Mhm.
But I'm lucky enough that my agent is not that, and he really wants me to succeed and to do good work, and he will pull me up if he thinks I'm not doing good work. But yeah, I struggled for a long time because I wasn't getting jobs, and it adds a pressure on you that you think, oh, if I don't get this job, I'm going to get dropped. And it's not the case. You might be signed to one of the top agents on the planet and not work for 3 years. But that doesn't mean that they don't believe in you any more than they did before. Again, and that plays into I probably wasn't getting those jobs because I was worrying about getting the jobs and trying to and missing my own life lesson from David Bowie of playing to the gallery.
Very cool. It's the first time that I've ever had somebody say that advice, and I love it. Thank you. It's a pleasure having you on. I did want to talk to you about your cooking. Actually, I do want to ask you one more question.
Okay.
My nephew is a chef, and he's I hear the same passion when I talk to him about cooking. But one dish that you love making that you think is your signature dish, that if you had one thing that you could cook for somebody, it would be it.
Ooh. Oh, that's a cruel question. Okay, does it have to be one dish or one like meal?
Fine. You have the meal option. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Okay, so to start, tortilla soup. Have you ever had tortilla soup? It is phenomenal. The Hairy Bikers cookbook taught it to me. It's amazing. I love Mexican food. So tortillas tortilla soup as a starter.
Mhm.
Some fresh lime and all that. Yeah. What would I do after tortilla soup? A really, really good margarita pizza.
Okay.
Napoli style margarita pizza. With fresh basil. With red wine. Has to be with a really good red wine. A nice like a Grand Reserve Rioja. Doesn't have to be expensive. Note for everyone out there, go to Lidl's. They have amazing wine. It's really cheap. If you're in the UK, if you're in the States, just don't buy American wine. And then to finish, a fresh chocolate brownie with a espresso chocolate sauce and some real vanilla ice cream.
Okay.
Maybe a follow-up after that as a second dessert, as a cheese board and wine, and sit around and watch a movie.
Yeah. Sit and watch Wallander. And might as well give people something to watch there that has.
Yes. Watch young Wallander, drink wine, and have a good night.
Yeah. Thankfully, I'm in Chicago, so I get plenty of chances to eat Mexican food. We have wonderful Mexican food here. Large.
I've not been to the States. I know you guys have got you're literally right next to Mexico, so you have the best kind of. Oh, it's like me being right next to Europe and having that food. You've got all the Mexico. Oh, I'm so jealous.
Yeah. Chicago being a metropolitan city, even though we're not close to the border, we have just kind of a wealth of culinary traditions from all over the world. We have top French restaurants. We have a lot of Asian cuisine. We have Mexican food. So it's a lot of different styles. So when you get a chance to come and get your Oscar in LA, stop by in Chicago on the way from UK, and then experience us for a bit.
I need Chicago style pizza as well. I've not had that yet.
Yes,
it's the proper pizza pie.
Yep, it's this thick. In Chicago, there are a couple of places to go to, and I'm going to mention a couple of them. I'm not saying which one is best, so people feel free to comment if you like. But
Okay.
try Eduardo's, try Giordano's, and I'll give you one more. Pizza Uno.
I
So.
swear my barber told me about Pizza Uno. He said he's never had any pizza any better than that. Well, Chicago style pizza anywhere in the world.
They're all good, and again, they all have their own kind of identities, if you will. And I have my preferences. I used to work for Giordano's, so I think I'll kind of be partial to Giordano's
Yeah,
because as
it's the Italian culture, isn't it? That they take it's the family recipe,
yeah,
the family tradition. It's a one. Every Italian grandmother makes the best food. Every single one of them.
Yeah, the thing with food, by the way, is that when I went to Italy and I had all of this, because I grew up on Italian food, I love all sorts of Italian dishes. And then we went to Florence, and it was similar. It was different in Venice, and it was completely different in Rome. And some of the things that we're used to, people were looking at us like, "Are you kidding?" When we're talking about lasagna, it's what mother does at the end of the week because we just grabs whatever is in there and puts it together. Whereas we're thinking lasagna, and I'm expecting in restaurants to have the olive oil and bread on the table, and they don't do that because they do it in the U.S. That doesn't that's not authentic Italian. So we had a lot of things that happened to us that we were surprised by when we actually went to Italy and went to real, Italian restaurants.
Okay, be honest. How much limoncello did you drink in Italy?
Not enough.
No, exact. Good answer.
No,
Good
enough.
answer. Villa Massa limoncello. That's the best one that you can get outside of Italy.
My favorite part of Italy, though, was having gelato on every corner. And then we went to Spain after it, and I knew that something was missing. It took me a little while to understand, what was missing, and it was that I didn't have my gelato on every corner. I couldn't just, go and eat it every single day, at least a few times a day.
Oh, pistachio gelato is
Yes. Yeah.
amazing.
With lemon sorbetto, kind of thrown in because I want all sorts of flavors. Anyway, thanks, Alan. It was really a pleasure. Best of luck to you. I will watch Wallander, and I'll reach out to you, let you know my thoughts.
Oh, please do, man. That'd be very much appreciated.
Will do. And then would love to talk to your partner. I know she's an actress as well, so she's most
Yes, I will run into the living room after this and inform Radina Drandova from Host.
Yep.
Tag and stuff for you guys to come and do an interview with you.
And by the way, I haven't done a ton of prep on her yet, but based on her last name, it sounds Eastern European. Where is she
Yes,
from?
she's from Bulgaria.
Okay, that's what it sounds like. So tell her I'm a former neighbor. I'm from Ukraine.
Are you from the Ukraine? Ah, wicked. I'll let her know. I'm sure she would absolutely love to come talk to you.
Okay. Well, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Have a good night, and stay safe out there.
You too. Stay safe, man.
Thanks. And thanks to everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it. As always, these conversations take their own turns, and that's why we love it. And thank you for tuning in as always. Thank you.